India's Hofstede scores. Hofstede cultural framework is one of the most widely used tools to analyze a country's culture. From here we can check India's scores in Hofstede's 6-dimension cultural framework. Please keep in mind that the Hofstede score on each dimension ranges on a scale from 0 to 100. Dimension 1. Power distance. Power distance refers to how openly a society or culture either accepts or rejects differences between people, for instance, hierarchies in the workplace, in politics, and so on. India scores high on the dimension of power distance with a 77, indicating an appreciation for hierarchy and a top-down structure in society and organizations. In India, managers count on the obedience of their team members and employees. They are expected to be directed clearly in regards to their functions and what is expected of them. Control is familiar. Communication is top-down and directive in its style, and often feedback is very negative. Dimension 2. Individualism. The individualism versus collectivism dimension considers the degree to which societies are integrated into groups, as well as their perceived obligations and dependence on groups. It can also refer to people's tendency to take care of themselves and their immediate circle of family and friends, and in some cases, at the expense of the overall society. India is a society with clear collectivistic traits as it scores a 48 for this dimension. This indicates that there is a high preference for belonging to a larger social framework. Individuals are expected to act in accordance to the greater good of those that are defined in groups. Therefore, the actions of the individual are influenced by various concepts such as the opinion of one's family, extended family, neighbors, work group, or any other such wider social networks that one has some affiliation toward. The relationship between an employer and an employee is one based on expectations. In exchange for loyalty from the employee, there can be familial protection from the employer. In the workplace, the hiring process and promotional decisions are often based on relationships. Relationships are the key to everything in India. Dimension 3. Masculinity. The masculinity versus femininity dimension is also referred to as tough versus tender, and it considers the preference of societal achievement, behavior, attitude towards gender equality, and more. India is considered a masculine country with a score of 56 on this dimension. India is very masculine in terms of visual displays of success and power, despite the fact it scores barely above the mid-range. In masculine countries like India, the focus is on success and achievements, and is validated by material gains. Work is the center of one's life, and visible symptoms of success in the workplace holds great importance. The Indian culture values assertiveness, competitiveness, and ambition. Dimension 4. Uncertainty avoidance. The uncertainty avoidance dimension considers the extent to which uncertainty and ambiguity are tolerated. This dimension also considers how unknown situations and unexpected events are dealt with. India scores 40 on this dimension, and thus has a medium to low preference for avoiding uncertainty. In this country, there is acceptance of imperfection. Nothing has to be perfect, and nothing has to go exactly as planned. Traditionally, India is a patient country, where tolerance for the unexpected is high. People in India generally do not feel driven or compelled to take action initiatives and feel comfortable when settling into established roles and routines with questioning. People in cultures with a medium to low uncertainty avoidance level tend to value risk-taking, seek change instead of avoiding it, and demonstrate a high tolerance for difference, mistake, or error. India possesses all of these traits, which makes it a favorable destination for outsiders to establish business relationships. Dimension 5. Long-term orientation. The long-term orientation versus short-term orientation dimension considers the extent to which society views its time horizon. Long-term orientation emphasizes perseverance and growth. In contrast, short-term orientation focuses on the near future by delivering short-term success and emphasizing the present. With an intermediate score of 51 in this dimension, a dominant preference in Indian culture cannot be determined. In India, the concept of karma dominates religious and philosophical thought. Time is not linear, and thus is not as important as it is to Western societies, those countries typically scoring low on this dimension. Countries like India have a great tolerance for religious views from all over the world. Hinduism is often considered a philosophy more than a religion, an amalgamation of ideas, views, practices, and esoteric beliefs. In India there is an acceptance, but there are many truths and often depends on the seeker. Societies that have a high score on pragmatism typically forgive a lack of punctuality, a changing game plan based on changing reality, and a general comfort with discovering the fated path as one goes along, rather than playing to an exact plan. Dimension 6. Indulgence. Indulgence indicates that a society allows relatively free gratification related to having fun in life. Conversely, restraint indicates that a society suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it through social norms. India receives a low score of 26 in this dimension, meaning that it is a culture of restraint. Societies with a low score in this dimension have a tendency to have more cynicism and pessimism. Also, in contrast to indulgent societies, restrained societies do not put much emphasis on leisure time and control the gratification of their desires. People with this orientation have the perception that their actions are restrained by social norms and feel that indulging themselves is somewhat wrong. Section 3. Organizational cultures. Generally, the Indian business culture will have the following three features.
It's hard for us to imagine a life with dirty water.
First, caste system. According to BBC News, a caste system divides Hindus into rigid hierarchical groups based on their karma and dharma at birth. Of these groups, the highest group is the Brahmins or intellectuals said to be born from the head of Brahma. These individuals are also known as the priests and academics. As we move down the hierarchy or body, the Kshatriyas represent the shoulders or warriors rulers, Vaishyas, the abdomen or farmers, traders, and merchants. Shudras represent the feet or laborers, and finally the Dalits, also known as the untouchables. Although abolished in 1950, the influence of India's caste system is still present and continues to categorize Indians based on birth. Signs of change can be seen as more Indians move into the cities and younger people show greater tolerance as it relates to the caste system. This shift in tolerance will allow for greater educational opportunities, a decrease in the wealth divide, and greater opportunities in the world markets. With that being said, doing business in India is more than a simple transaction. One must educate themselves on India's rich history and be sure they know and have researched the person they are attempting to do business with. Preparing by asking questions such as, are they progressives? Are they traditionalists? Progressives will be more modern and used to Western business practices, while traditionalists are more family business oriented. Understanding India's caste system, their religious beliefs, and the traditional versus the modern business person may be the key to closing the deal. Second, regional cultural differences. India is home to over 1 billion people, accommodating incredible cultural diversity between languages, geographic regions, religious traditions, and social stratifications. The buzzing cities of Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and Delhi contain a melting pot of rapid economic development and technological innovation, with a notable example being the continually expanding telecommunications sector. Such cities demonstrate India's rise as an economic and political powerhouse on the world stage. This is also represented by the diaspora of Indian people throughout the globe. The large metropolitan cities stand in contrast to the hundreds of thousands of villages and small towns, each containing distinctive micro-societies. Indians can often determine where someone is from based on their accent, language, style of dress, and mannerisms. Similarly, it is common to find people having a sense of regional pride and identity towards their place of origin. Third, relationship-oriented. Personal relationships play a significant role in Indian business culture. Third-party introductions are almost a necessity as Indians prefer to work with those whom they know and trust. For them, trust is the key to good business, and they will be looking for an honest commitment to the relationship from you. Their business networks are often comprised of relatives and peers as nepotism guarantees trust. They only want to expand their networks with partners they can rely on. Hence, they tend to want to know a great deal about their partners to build the loyalty and trust needed to support the business in the future. You may consider some of the questions asked to be irrelevant or too personal, but try to be patient and answer their questions for the sake of the business relationship. Section 4. Business Etiquettes. Here are some important business etiquettes you need to be aware when you meet or negotiate with your Indian partners. 1. Indians appreciate punctuality, but may not reciprocate it. It is advised to make appointments at least 1 month in advance and confirm them when arriving in India. 2. There is and has been a hierarchical culture in India for a long time. Therefore, greeting the eldest or most senior person first is usually most common. 3. Indians consider it important to use a person's title wherever it is possible, titles such as doctor or professor, etc. Use courtesy titles such as Mr., Mrs., or Miss for those without professional titles, and wait to be invited to use first names. 4. When receiving a business card, use both hands. Do not put the card away immediately, but instead take a moment to examine it carefully, and then place it before you on the table when you are seated. Do not put it in the back pocket of your pants, as this could be taken as you sitting on the other person's face. Similarly, do not write on someone's card, unless directed to do so. 5. Take time to get to know your business partner, allowing for a casual conversation to begin a meeting. 6. Popular welcome topics include politics, cricket, films, and Indian economic reforms. Take some time to do some preparation on these subjects, as it can be very helpful in building a positive relationship and gaining one's acceptance. 7. Although most Indians are tolerant people, avoid discussing religious beliefs. Stay clear of the topic of their country's poverty, the relationship to Pakistan, Kashmir, and the caste system. 8. Sustained eye contact is not generally the norm, especially for a woman looking at a man. 9. Expect some meetings or discussions to be conducted over dinner or drinks. 10. In India, the highest-ranking person makes the final decisions. Therefore, if the owner or director of the company is not present, it is likely that you are still engaged in early negotiations and will not reach a final agreement at this meeting. 11. Be patient with negotiations, as they can progress much slower than what Americans are used to. 12. Everything is subject to change in India, so Indians can regard contracts more as agreements of willingness to do business. The actual specifications of limitations and regulations of a deal are negotiable depending on the business relationship. 13. In India, if necessary to decline, the polite way to say no is to say, "I'll see what I can do," or something similar. No matter how impossible the task may be, this is the polite answer.